Have you ever heard a story so incredible it sounds like fiction? A tale of impossible dreams, crushing failure, and a fight for survival against all odds. Today, we're re-diving into one of the greatest survival epics in human history, the story of Sir Ernest Shackleton and his ship, the Endurance. Imagine this, it's 1914. The world is on the brink of war, but one man has a different battle in mind. His name is Ernest Shackleton, a seasoned explorer with a dream that many considered pure madness. He wanted to be the first person to walk across the entire Antarctic continent. We're talking a nearly 3,000-kilometer trek through the most hostile environment on Earth. No GPS, no satellite phones, no high-tech gear, just pure human grit and a wooden ship named, fittingly, Endurance. On November 4th, 1914, Shackleton and his crew of 27 men set sail. Their journey would take them from the Weddell Sea across the frozen heart of the South Pole to the Ross Sea on the other side. The plan was ambitious, scheduled to take about 120 days if, and this is a big if, everything went perfectly. By early November, they reached South Georgia Island, the last outpost of civilization before the vast, white emptiness of Antarctica. The whalers and locals there gave them a stark warning. The ice pack that year was unusually thick and treacherous. They urged him to wait, to reconsider, but Shackleton, driven by his singular vision, decided to push forward. He believed in his ship and his men. He refused to turn back. As they ventured deeper into the Weddell Sea, the warnings proved true. The sea was a maze of dense, shifting ice. By January 1915, the ice began to close in around the Endurance. At first, the crew wasn't too worried. They were explorers. Getting stuck in the ice was part of the game. They expected the ice to break up in the spring, releasing their ship. But spring never came for the Endurance. Weeks turned into months. The ship was no longer sailing. It was a prisoner, drifting helplessly with the massive ice flow. The immense pressure of the ice began to squeeze the ship's wooden hull. The men could hear the groans and creaks of the timber, a constant, terrifying reminder of their predicament. The temperature plummeted to unimaginable lows, sometimes dipping to -50 degrees Celsius. On October 24, 1915, after nearly 10 months trapped in the ice, the inevitable happened. The pressure became too much. The ice shattered the ship's stern, and water began flooding in. The sound of the ship breaking apart was, as one crew member described it, like the sound of fireworks and breaking bones. Shackleton's dream of crossing Antarctica was officially over. The Endurance, their home and their lifeline, was doomed. He gave the order to abandon ship. A few weeks later, they watched in silence as their magnificent vessel sank beneath the ice, lost to the depths of the Weddell Sea. Now, the real story begins. Shackleton and his 27 men were stranded on a floating sheet of ice in the middle of nowhere. Their ship was gone. Their original mission was a failure. All they had left were 3 small lifeboats salvaged from the ship, limited supplies, and their own resilience. Their new mission was simple: survive. They set up a makeshift camp on the ice, which they called Patience Camp. Life was brutal. They hunted seals and penguins for food and fuel, their diet monotonous and their hunger constant. They endured the relentless, biting cold and the psychological strain of complete isolation from the rest of the world. They were a tiny speck of life in an endless expanse of white for months. They drifted on the ice, their temporary home slowly melting and breaking apart beneath them. By April 1916, the ice floe finally disintegrated, forcing them into their 3 small lifeboats. For 5 harrowing days, they navigated through icy waters and stormy seas. Soaked to the bone, frostbitten, and exhausted. Finally, on April 15th, they spotted land, the first solid ground they had stood on in 497 days. They had reached Elephant Island, a desolate, rocky outcrop on the edge of the Antarctic Peninsula. They were saved from the sea, but their ordeal was far from over. Elephant Island was completely uninhabited. It was remote, battered by constant storms, and far from any known shipping lanes. No one in the outside world even knew they were alive, let alone where to look for them. Rescue was a fantasy. It was here that Shackleton made one of the most audacious decisions in the history of exploration. He knew that staying on the island meant certain death for everyone. Their only hope was to get help, and the nearest source of help was the whaling station on South Georgia Island, the very place they had left over a year and a half ago. The problem, South Georgia was over 1,300 kilometers away, across the most notoriously dangerous stretch of ocean on the planet, the Drake Passage. Shackleton decided he would make the journey. He chose 5 of his strongest men to join him. They would take the largest of the 3 lifeboats, a 7-meter open boat named the James Caird, and attempt the impossible. The remaining 22 men would stay behind on Elephant Island under the command of his second-in-command, Frank Wild, and wait. What followed was a journey that defies belief. For 16 days, Shackleton and his 5 companions battled hurricane-force winds and monstrous waves, some reportedly 18 meters high. Their tiny boat was constantly coated in ice, which they had to chip away to prevent it from capsizing. They were freezing, soaked, and suffering from severe seasickness. Their navigation, done with just a sextant and a chronometer, was a miracle of skill, as they only got a few glimpses of the sun. One tiny miscalculation, and they would be lost forever in the vastness of the Southern Ocean. Against all odds, on May 10, 1916, they spotted the shores of South Georgia Island. They had done it. They had crossed the Drake Passage in a small open boat. But their struggle wasn't over yet. They had landed on the wrong side of the island. The whaling station was on the opposite coast, separated by a range of treacherous, uncharted, glacier-covered mountains. Weakened and exhausted, Shackleton faced another impossible choice. Sailing around the island was too risky. So he, along with 2 of his men, Tom Crean and Frank Worsley, decided to cross the island on foot. This was a journey no human had ever attempted before. With just a rope and a carpenter's adze for an ice axe, they trekked for 36 non-stop hours, climbing frozen peaks and navigating deadly crevasses in the dark. In an incredible feat of endurance, they stumbled into the whaling station, looking like men who had returned from the dead. They were the first people ever to traverse the interior of South Georgia. Shackleton's first thought was not of rest, but of the men he had left behind. He immediately began organizing a rescue mission. The first attempt failed, blocked by the impenetrable Antarctic ice. The second attempt failed. The third attempt failed. Shackleton was relentless. He sailed to Chile and persuaded the government to lend him a small, tough steam tug called the Yelcho. On August 30th, 1916, after more than 4 months of waiting in the harsh Antarctic winter, the men on Elephant Island saw a ship appear through the fog. It was Shackleton. As he neared the shore, he called out, "Are you all well?" The reply came back across the water, "All safe, all well." Incredibly, every single one of the 22 men had survived. Shackleton had started his expedition with 27 men. After 2 years of being lost to the world, enduring unimaginable hardship, he returned with all 27 men. His dream of crossing Antarctica had failed, but he achieved something far greater. He led his crew through a catastrophic failure and brought every single one of them home alive. His story became a timeless lesson in leadership, courage, and the unbreakable power of the human spirit. And what of the endurance? For over a century, the ship lay undisturbed in the crushing darkness of the Weddell Sea. Then, in March 2022, an expedition team made a stunning discovery. Nearly 3,000 meters below the surface, they found the wreck of the Endurance, and it was in astonishingly good condition, preserved by the icy cold water, the ship's name still clearly visible on the stern. A final ghostly tribute to one of history's greatest adventures. Shackleton's story reminds us that true success isn't always about achieving your original goal. Sometimes it's about how you face failure, how you lead when all hope seems lost, and how you fight to bring everyone home. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from history. See you in the next video.